If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 259 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on July 27th, 2025 with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you 2 weeks in a row. How about that? Thank you. And that's right, my friends. Your ears are not deceiving you today. You are getting a Yapping Yankees episode 2 consecutive weekends in a row. Finally, for the first time in 3-4 months?
Holy crap.
I deserve that. Speaking of ears deceiving you, the very things you're using to listen to me today, and I thank you for joining me today for the 259th episode of the show. Can you believe that? 260 it'll be for the next one as we creep towards 300. That is beyond my comprehension. But speaking of ears that you use to listen to this show and do many other things throughout your day, obviously, I do know, and I listened to it while I was editing last week, when I did my first episode again in a few weeks after my move and everything, and it has continued to go very well. I appreciate all of you who have given me good wishes and congratulations, myself and my girlfriend Victoria. It is infinitely appreciated. It has continued to go very well, but I did hear it as I expected it to be, and I said it in the open of last week's show. I expected it to be a factor. I know that there was an echo on last week's episode. I explained why. I'm in a room that does not have a lot of stuff in it yet and still doesn't. I am trying something, though, with the help of my mom. She did, when I went back to my original house this weekend, she gave me something of like a screen, sort of, to put behind me when I record. For now, at least until this room fills up. If it does in the near future, I don't know. We still don't have definitive plans for this spare bedroom here yet. But we have some things up, but not enough to absorb an echo. And we have like an upper space in the room where sound has even more room to travel, creating even more of an echo. So it's just the background effect that it's been having. So I do appreciate all of you who just bared with me for last week through the echo. I mean, I heard throughout the show it wasn't that bad. It was mainly in the open when I screamed my hello there, you know. So I got to remain like Obi-Wan Kenobi every week to open the show, guys. It's just how it is as a Star Wars nerd / loser. So regardless, the room does have its effects that result in an echo. I'm glad it wasn't brutal throughout the entire duration of last week's episode. But again, thanks to what my mom gave me, there's somewhat of a screen behind me right now. I'm hoping that since I'm directing the sound of my microphone to only absorb sound mainly from the front of it, from where I'm talking, and I have this directly behind me, that hopefully the screen behind me absorbs the echo of the sound bouncing back towards me where the microphone's direction of audio is facing. So I guess that's the layman terms of it to try to help you to understand. But I hope it helps at least a little bit. I hope it wasn't too intense when I did the well, hello there, and throughout the entire show today. I will be listening for myself later on when I'm editing down, just chopping down some dead spaces or any breaks that I take throughout to go eat or whatnot. But I'll hear it later. Hopefully it's not too bad and this improves it a little bit. We did put a couple of other things in here, although I don't think it'll have that much of an effect, if at all, on the echo. Also turned the ceiling fan off because I heard it ticking a couple of times in the recording last week, but it's not the end of the world. It's off, and I put an even quieter little fan in the background to keep it cooler in here, mainly for my computer. So we're going to see how it goes. This is how it is for the next bunch of weeks being in my new place, guys. Sometimes you got to experiment with a room when you first move in, and this is really the only room I could record in, and I like it in here. Like my own privacy and whatnot. The internet works fine, so it's all good in those regards. Just got to figure out some sound quality crap here. But otherwise, I really do appreciate all the people who reached out about my move, wishing me well and everything, and who bared with me through the somewhat spotty audio at times last week and hopefully improved audio this week. I really appreciate every single one of you. I really, really do. And I am very happy that I'm here for a second week in a row. Like I said, it's been months and months since I've been able to give you 2 Yapping Yankees weekends in a row. Just had so much going on. And it's still not completely done yet, but it has certainly started to settle down a bit. But just a little bit of an update on my plans for the next few weeks. I know August is around the corner. The next time you hear me on the show, it will be August. Can you friggin' believe it? Yeah, I can't either. But the next time you do hear me, it'll be August already. And I do have a fair share of plans in August, so I just wanted to update you on a couple of things. Believe it or not, I will be back for another weekend. Next Sunday, I want to say it's August the 3rd, I will be doing another episode. So for the first time and probably even longer than back-to-back episodes, I'll be giving you 3 in a row, like the good old days, right? Oh, well, thank you very much. It's the least I could do. But yeah, so next weekend, I'll be back for the 3rd consecutive Sunday of Yapping Yankees, which I know will have many of you over the moon, and I'm excited about that, both for you and me as well. I'm looking forward to doing it. Lots going on in Yankee land nowadays, obviously, as it always usually is. But the following weekend I'm going to have to miss because the following Sunday I will be at a wedding, and then I have to see, but it's likely there will be, there's the toll to pay if you're going to get 3 in a row these days. That's just how life has been going. But I'm probably going to have to take off again the following Sunday. So the first half of the dog days of August month are going to have to take a back seat again. Because if you remember what I had mentioned last week, I was planning on doing my Series 7 retake at some point soon. And I did reschedule that for August 19th. Now, in a couple of weeks, it'll be August 17th, in 3 weeks from now. So, since that's only 2 days beforehand, I'm going to have to be honest, guys, I'm probably going to be taking that day to just focus on my studies. Like I said, that's got to take priority because of my future. So, I mean, I know all of you understand, especially in that regard. We've spoken about this before and why I had to really wipe out the month of May, really, between that and my Japan trip. But that was part of it since I was right in the middle of that month and I had to prepare as best as I possibly could and already did before that. So it's going to be a similar thing for August. So because of a wedding that I have to be at for basically the entire duration of the day, in 2 Sundays from now on August 10th, and because I'll be looking to retake my Series 7 for my second attempt on the 19th, I'm going to be focusing on the 17th on studying for that. So probably 2 weekends in a row I will not be doing an episode, but I should be back the following weekend after that, August 24th, and then the Sunday after that, which I'm going to take a quick gander at the calendar, I believe it will be, it'll be August 31st. So I will have, 3 August episodes still, because I'll be doing one next Sunday on the 3rd, and then I'll be doing one on the 24th, and then on the 31st. So you will still be getting 3 episodes in August. So as things have gone in the past, that's not too bad. The past few months in comparison. But that's the deal going forward. Hope that's all right. Whether or not it's okay, it's happening. So I hope you are okay with it. But, listen, no one forces you to listen. If you've just thrown in the towel and said, I've had enough of this jerk, well, then please feel free. That's entirely your prerogative. I certainly hope not, because I enjoy your company. But that's the deal over the next few weeks. I just didn't want you to be caught blindsided with that and caught off guard. So that's the deal going forward, my friends. But otherwise, hope you've been doing well. I cannot believe it's like midsummer and time just continues to fly by as quickly as it does. I already have no concept of it as it is, so it doesn't help that it continues to fly by at the rate that it continues to. But I cannot believe August is around the corner. And with the passing of the summer comes the passing of the baseball season more and more as well. And that's where we are reminded of where we are in the season and where we are at as far as the Yankees are concerned, which we'll get to in just 1 minute. But before getting to that, speaking of the end of July, something else usually happens at this time of year, and I just wanted to hit on this real quick because of how honestly nice as it usually is, but also extremely entertaining, even more so than usual this particular year's was. We got to see the Hall of Fame inductions and speeches today by a couple of our favorites who we know got inducted within the last bunch of months. We spoke all about it a bunch of episodes ago. I do not remember which one specifically, but if you want to go back in the catalog to find out for yourself, then please feel free. Go right ahead, be my guest. But the Hall of Fame inductions and the whole ceremony and the speeches took place today. We obviously have two of our favorites in CC Sabathia and Ichiro Suzuki, two of whom we knew were getting inducted, and we were looking forward to this day, and we finally got it. And honestly, it was even better than this day typically is. I usually don't spend much time on this, if at all, especially depending on who gets inducted, but particularly because this is Yapping Yankees, and CC Sabathia is involved this year, and Ichiro Suzuki, who some may forget, but also spent a couple of years with the Yankees in like the mid-2010s or so, early mid-2010s, in case you happen to forget, because he spent so much of his career with the Mariners, the team that he's usually known for to have been with. So people forget sometimes that he was with the Yankees, but he was, in case you forgot. It was a couple of the best years of my life, considering how much I've always loved Ichiro. But it was even more entertaining than it usually is from both of them. I mean, you had CeCe taking the podium, and I love these guys so much. So I'm already happy, beyond thrilled, to see them both take the podium as it is and see them get inducted to the Hall of Fame like they so richly deserve to be. And there's usually like humor injected into some speeches. There's no doubt this is not the first time this has happened. Far from it, and it certainly won't be the last. But these two in particular, with the charisma and just, I don't know, just, they're awesome and really funny, down-to-earth guys. And that's what made it even more special, in my opinion. Just love them both. I mean, CeCe jokingly poking at Ichiro. He really praised for much of his speech his fellow inductees, Ichiro included. So that was really nice. But poked fun at him for a second, saying that he stole his Rookie of the Year award in 2001. So that was really funny. And CeCe went on to have a great speech from there. And it was just so awesome to see CeCe inducted into the Hall of Fame, actually, because you hear that it's going to happen, and you hear that they're inducted all the months ago, but then actually seeing them take the stage and take the podium and talking about it and talking, just reflecting on their career and how much it means to them, and just seeing them again and really just absorbing, like, wow, this guy who I watched for so much of my time as a fan and how much he meant to me, he's going into the Hall of freaking Fame, and it hits you like a train sometimes. Most of the time it does. And especially when you like someone as much as I liked CeCe and Ichiro too. So it was really special to see Sabathia take the stand like that and just reflect on all the years I watched him pitch and how much his career meant to me personally, and how much it meant to so many other people, and how much it meant to him himself too, and him reflecting on all of it. It's always a special day. I love it. But Ichiro, oh my God, who knew that this guy had a side gig of stand-up comedy? I mean, good Lord, did anybody hear this speech or even see it on MLB Network where it aired? 'Cause listen, we all knew that Ichiro had a comedic stroke to him, but my God, is this guy funny. I love the Japanese people, as we all know. I mean, I went to Japan a few months ago. I loved the crap out of it, basically almost more than anything of all time, any other experience I've ever had. So just the Japanese people in general. But, I mean, aside from that, and you combine that with how much I've always loved Ichiro personally and how much of a cool and funny guy I've always known him to be, just in the past, my God, he's even more so now. And it's good to know that he still has that side of him, because my God, he was hilarious today. If you didn't hear it or watch it, I really recommend you go there as soon as possible to any form of social media to try to catch it. It was so iconic. People all over the internet are saying, like, Ichiro had just one of the best Hall of Fame speeches ever, and it's completely true. I agree with it. Like, for instance, when he was showing his thanks to the Yankees, like, he joked saying that he knows that they're there to celebrate CeCe. He literally said it word for word. I know you're here to celebrate CeCe. But he really also, just in a heartfelt manner, expressed his genuine gratitude to them very nicely. And he said it was a huge honor to experience Jeter's leadership and everything else. Very nice speeches by both of them, but especially by Ichiro in that regard. And his speech to the Yankees, especially with a team that, you know, he had such a long and storied career both here and in Japan. At the end of the day, he only spent a couple of years with the Yankees, so it was nice that he gave them the attention and the words that he did. I really appreciated that as a Yankee fan and someone who really just had such a thrill watching him play here after everything he already accomplished, how much I already loved him prior to that. And getting to see him play as a Yankee, even if just for a couple of years, was just like an out-of-body experience. It was remarkable at the time. And I never forgot it. Still remember it very fondly. And that's why it just meant even more to see him take the podium today as he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And his speech to the Yankees and just in general meant a lot, so that was really nice. But the real hilarious part that got everybody, even around the podium, even around the whole event, just like literally hollering, laughing. You could listen to the clip or watch it. He was hilarious. Like I said, he should really be a stand-up comic. Like, listen to this. It's in reference to the Marlins, because we know that at the very end of Ichiro's career that the Marlins had offered him a contract in 2015 at the very end of his career. And he didn't stop playing until 2019, of course, but of the 19 years he played, this was in the last 4 or 5 years maybe, so it was towards the end. In 2015, he spent, maybe if I remember, like 2 or 3 years there. I'm trying to look it up now for a specific reference. I don't want to give you wrong information. 3 years, yeah. I had 2 or 3 in my head. And then he went back to Seattle for his final 2 years, barely played there much at all. But still, just to go back there and end his career there, I'm pretty sure that's what he really meant by it. And that's really what he wanted to do. And I totally understand that. But, I mean, it was just really, really funny. The 3 teams, of course, that he spent his whole career with were 14 years with the Mariners, including those last 2 there in 18 and 19. And then he had the 3 years with the Marlins and the 3 years with the Yankees. Not 3 full years because they got him halfway into 2012. And then he spent the entirety of 13 and 14 here, like I said, early, mid-2010s. But he reflected on when the Marlins, after his time with the Yankees, offered him a contract. And it got a lot of laughs, both from me and just about everybody else. And well, I'm going to do you a favor right now. If you don't feel like going around and looking for a clip of this, I'll do you the honors. Take a listen to this clip from MLB Network here when they were airing the Hall of Fame induction broadcast, and listen to this hilarious line that Ichiro delivered for yourself. It's funny.
And to the Miami Marlins, I appreciate David Sampson and Mike Hill for coming today. Honestly, when you guys called to offer me a contract for 2015, I have never heard of your team.
Yeah. Oh my God. Somebody forgot to let Ichiro know that it was a Hall of Fame induction speech, not a Comedy Central roast. I had never heard of your team. That is crazy. Oh, God, I love that freaking guy. I love Ichiro. And I almost forgot how cool of a voice he had, too. He has such a great sounding voice. He even did impersonations of the Mariners broadcasting team. I mean, the guy is just electrifying. It's being considered one of the better Hall of Fame speeches, and I honestly can't disagree. It's hilarious. So I just wanted to shed some light on that. All in all, big congratulations are in order for CC Sabathia and Ichiro Suzuki for the Hall of Fame, as I gave months and months and months ago. A lot of congratulations to them once again here today amidst their speeches and official inductions with their plaques unveiled and everything. Just an awesome day always. So congratulations especially to CC and Ichiro Suzuki from this fan who idolized both of these guys, loved them so much. And obviously, big congratulations to the rest of the Hall of Fame inductees as well. So that was a good bit of entertainment for today, for sure. Aside from the Yankees win, which they were so kind to finally give us, right? I guess that's a good segue into the actual subject matter. Guys, we can't go on like this, honestly. It's just utterly insane. The Yankees are really, listen, I know they won today, and that's good. I was just asking for any sign of life that we can get our hands on whatsoever after the way the vast majority of this past week went since we last yapped last Sunday. But my God, did this week suck. It absolutely sucked. We ended last week's episode saying how important this week of Yankees baseball was going to be for the Yankees, standings-wise, and just overall, too, because not only with the standings with the Blue Jays and the fact that they're like one of the hottest teams I've seen in a very long time, but also just how they do against other top teams right now, despite all the damage they've inflicted on their roster, because they just got done with the Phillies. They lost both series. They have fallen even further behind in the standings than they were last weekend. So that's just fantastic. And they continue to be a well under 500 team since mid to late June. I believe they've won, I want to say, what was the statistic they gave in like the last 37, 38 games on the Yes Network yesterday? I think they've won like 15 out of like their last 38 games. Something along those lines. It's not good, man. For weeks and weeks and weeks now, I would say the better part of 6-ish weeks, this team has had their faces down on the canvas. They have their days where, and this is where my last week's episode title comes into play, they have their days where they look really good and they resurge and like, all right, maybe they can really bounce back and start a win streak here. That's where the whiplash comes in, i.e. last week's episode title. But then the vast majority of the time they go back out there and play the way they did for the most of this past week when they lost 4 out of the last 6 games yet again. The offense, good a decent chunk of the time, but just no pitching. You feel no lead is safe. You feel the defense just got out of high school, and as well as the fundamentals. This continues to be amongst the most embarrassing Yankees teams I've ever seen or even heard of. With the way they just don't even know how to fundamentally play baseball. It's just unbelievable to me. I even said this to everybody, multiple family members, a bunch of my friends who follow baseball, or the Yankees specifically, or just sports in general, regardless. I said this to them as well, and I think I said this on last week's episode. Only the Yankees can go out into the World Series last year and have the inning they did in Game 5 in the 5th inning. Boy, the Yankees hate 5th innings or what? Even today, damn near blew the game when Rodon, by inches, missed giving a go-ahead 3-run homer up to Schwarber and losing yet another game they led for innings at a time. Almost blowing another one and nearly getting swept in Yankee Stadium. Fortunately, it did not leave the park. Bellinger made a nice play, and the Yankees would go on to win. That's besides the point. But my point is, the Yankees hate 5th innings, number 1, especially since the World Series. And 2, only the Yankees will go out and have that inning, have what I still refer to as the most embarrassing single inning in the history of the World Series, over 120 years worth. Only they will have that. And they will go out the next year and somehow manage to look even freaking worse. And not only even freaking worse at times, but over the span of weeks. Not even just one instance or one innings worth of it, but weeks. With little to nothing seemingly being done or even said about it.
Screw you.
Yeah, honestly, Johnny Lawrence, screw them. I mean, for real. I mean, we're out here watching these games every single day looking for any sort of change or any bit of passion out here, which also leads me to my next point, that freaking interview that Aaron Boone did with the John Boy crew with Jimmy and Jake. I mean, what a disgrace for Boone that was. I mean, I know he doesn't care. He made that more than clear in the interview, that he does not care what we, the fans, want, or even individually what Jimmy or Jake might want, who are speaking for the fans. So by that token, he's basically saying he doesn't care what the fans want or what they think. So let's just get that out of the way. That's first and foremost. I mean, we already knew he doesn't give a crap. But aside from any of that nonsense, I mean, you're looking for any sort of pissed off nature here. I mean, I know that at the end of the day, they got to go out there and make the differences. Words won't change anything if they go out on the field and do the same damn thing all the time. And I know everybody's going to have different reactions and different statements to make about certain things. That's what Boone was saying. Oh, everybody's different. Everybody's different. You're cherry picking. Nobody's cherry picking, you dope. I consider cherry picking to be when you're just looking for any sort of angle you can to just create some sort of a BS narrative. This is not BS. People are just picking certain examples of certain guys that may or may not be showing more passion than others regarding certain huge issues the Yankees have, and how certain other guys are just treating it like they're almost like programmed, like they're AI. And that's frustrating for some fans. And Boone even said at one point, oh, I don't want them to be programmed. I want them to go out there and make these changes. And that's what Jimmy was like, no, that's what I mean. Like, we want to hear the passion. We want to hear them not be AI, pretty much. And that's when he went, oh, I don't care what you want. Like a pouty 4-year-old. You all know how I felt about Boone for a while now. I feel far worse about Cashman because I realize a lot of the problems roots back to him and goes to the top, even higher up than Boone. I am understanding of this. I have been for years. You don't have to explain it to me like I'm 4. There are many things that happen in-game that are out of Boone's control. The job of a manager is to manage the team he has been given and the roster he has been given. I understand all these things. But the mindset, the action or lack thereof within the clubhouse, on the field, a lot of that can be linked to coaching, manager, all of that crap. It's just the truth. And when you hear Boone saying the things that he says, and maybe not acknowledging certain things the way he should be acknowledging, and you see the way they're playing, some people just can't help but make the connection that happens to be screaming them right in the face. Crucify them. I mean, it's ridiculous. All of the stupidity that happens on a regular basis with this team on the field. Defense, base running, all the basic things, inability to adjust in real time. It's absurd. I know that injuries or roster issues, that's not Boone's or any of the players' faults. That's just them working with what they have. I understand. But everything else outside of that, with that John Boy interview, the way that it did, boy, did Boone get ripped to shreds over that the way he deserved. But, I mean, he has his defenders out there. That's inevitable. Everybody's going to have that. There are always going to be people on both sides of every spectrum here. But, I mean, in the midst of what's going on with the Yankees, that's just not the stance you want to take if you're Boone at all. It's just not. But obviously he doesn't care, so that's just what it gets. I mean, maybe he does care to a certain degree, otherwise he wouldn't blow up even then. I mean, that is a sign of passion. But we wish we would see that from all Yankees. I mean, I know everybody's different. That's what he said, and he's not wrong about that part. But you wish you would see that out of at least more guys than what we see. We see so much AI and programmed responses despite the outrageous crap that happens on a daily basis with these guys. And crap that has us fans ripping every follicle of hair out of our skulls. And these guys take to the podium and take to the media. And a lot of the times, they just look and sound like nobody cares. And that's where we, the fans, get aggravated. Why is that so hard to understand? This is a rant I've been over at least 87 times. I feel like a broken freaking record. But it's necessary to keep going over because some people just still can't seem to get it through their thick skulls. Get a freaking clue already. I mean, come on, it's not difficult. But yeah, guys, this week, terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I know they won the one game in Toronto. I know they won today. But even the Toronto game that they won, at one point, that was a nail-biter. And they damn near blew that one, if not for Ben Rice hitting a huge home run late. I expected that one to be another loss because the pitching just did not come through once again. Felt like that was like one of the luckiest wins. So they damn near got swept again by the Blue Jays after the 4-game embarrassment in recent weeks as well before the All-Star break. And then today they barely managed to eke one out against the Phillies too. Otherwise, just another couple of losses on top of that. It's not good, guys. It's getting to the point now. I look at the standings and I cannot believe what I see. Even put aside the 5.5 back of Toronto. Being only one ahead of Boston. Do you guys remember once upon a time we had over a double-digit lead over these guys? And now we're up by 1 game. 1! And then thank God Tampa Bay is just going through their Hindenburg era right now because, I mean, they are just losing like there's no tomorrow. They lost again today, 4 in a row. I mean, they're losing every single freaking game damn near. The Red Sox at one point today were losing to the Dodgers. They were playing at Fenway Park. The Dodgers had a 3-1 lead in the 5th inning, and then they just blew that in the 5th, and they ended up losing 4-3. So the Red Sox gained another game, at least on Tampa, to separate from them. Things stayed even between them and the Yankees because the Yankees won as well, so things stayed the same in that regard. Thank God the Yankees won today. Otherwise, they would have been tied. I cannot believe after the lead that we had over them, let alone everybody else, the Yankees were up in first over everybody by at least like 7.5 games at one point. Not too long ago. Again, it's just the Blue Jays happen to be like the hottest team on the planet for weeks now. They lost today. I mean, it's about friggin' time they lose a damn game, but they're 20 games over 500. They don't seem to be looking back. 7.5 games at least over absolutely everybody. At least double digits over Boston. And now they're 1 game behind us. 1 game. I mean, from a divisional perspective, this is a generational choke job by the Yankees. And there are still so many games left to be played. There's still over 50 games left in the season. God knows what could happen. In a good or bad way, anything could happen in that amount of games. But God knows what's going to happen from here on out after what the Yankees have already blown. I don't see them taking over the Blue Jays. They've blown way too many head-to-head matchups. And to get on any sort of consistent basis, I know there's still days left until the deadline and whatnot. People want to talk about that, and we will in the social media segment later, so just hang tight. But you really think this Yankee team, I know they tend to pick it up a bit in August and September, a little bit, so maybe they will again, especially if depending on the moves that they still make, or I guess don't make. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. But you really think the Yankees are going to hit that kind of consistency to the point where they could catch the Blue Jays again? And think the Blue Jays are going to slow down enough? I mean, maybe they will, because they've been so out of their minds, they have to crash to a degree eventually, hopefully. Or maybe not. Nobody has to do anything. Just thinking of the law of averages here. But, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? At this point, and I think a lot of Yankee fans have adopted the same stance, and I think it's wise to do so, I viewed the Yankees as a team that really should focus more so on the wild card as of now. And they really should. Guys, they're in danger. I don't think a lot of you realize this, especially a lot of the blind optimists out there. I mean, thank God Tampa's been losing, because if they haven't, they would be right up the Yankees behind too. And in case you need a reminder, I think a lot of people need to be reminded how close the wild card picture is in the American League right now. Boston is the second wild card team. The Yankees are obviously the first right now. But like I said before, Boston's only a game back. So just playing devil's advocate here, if the Yankees have another putrid week, the Yankees could be in a second wild card spot. And only a half a game behind Boston now, tied for the third wild card. 2 AL West teams, the Mariners and the Rangers. So the Yankees are only a game and a half above both of them. And then the Rays are next in line, kicking down the door for that third wild card, only 3 games behind them. So again, you better pray they don't heat up, otherwise the Yankees, in maybe like a couple of weeks, could find themselves barely clinging to a third wild card. And even 4th place in the division at that, after what they had. I mean, at that point, will you have heard of a worse choke job? That's why I say, listen, I don't want to be pessimistic or too negative. I'm just saying it cannot go on like this. Hopefully today works as a stepping stone to better things. We say that after every win the Yankees happen to gift us with every few days these days. Because they have us scrounging for scraps at this point in time. What other choice do we have these days? But they got to snap out of it if they even want to make the playoffs, let alone make a divisional comeback. Forget about the division right now. Lock in on the wild card with how close things are heading into this next week, the last few days of July, bro. Come on. It's getting nerve-wracking here. A game and a half away from being the third wild card team. We're far closer to that happening than first freaking place. Just being real here. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being real. These are the facts. These are not opinions or my personal feelings getting to me. These are the facts where things are right now as of Sunday night, the 27th of July. And it's a good thing I mentioned the importance of the Rays not heating up, because that's a perfect segue into my next point. Guess who the next team the Yankees are facing is?
This is where the fun begins.
Depending on your definition of fun, my dear Anakin Skywalker. That is correct, guys. The next opponent is the Tampa Bay Rays. Not for 3 games, not for 2, no. For 4. The Yankees typically don't do bad against them in the Bronx, and that's where the matchup's taking place. But 4 games. Tomorrow through Thursday, Yankees and Tampa. And they'll be facing another Florida team, but actually in Florida next weekend, the Marlins. So they get a little bit of a break there. But the way the Yankees are playing, I mean, who the hell friggin' knows, right? But they have got to take care of business against the Rays this week. Keep their skid going. The Rays were double digits over 500 not too long ago. They now are exactly at 500 after they lost once again today against the Reds. They're 53-53. The Yankees now are only 9 games over 500 after they were over 20. That's how bad they have been for the better part of the last 6-ish weeks. That record I told you about before, give or take, that's not an exaggeration. That is how they've done. In almost 40 games, I think they've won like 15. It's not good. The Yankees have got to take care of business this week, especially if they want to make sure that they at least stay in the wild card picture, especially. A half a game behind them is the Guardians. They can't afford to heat up either. They're only a half a game behind the Rays, and a half a game behind them is the Royals. Not as afraid of those teams, but, I mean, especially because of the head-to-head you got coming up with Tampa and the importance of that in regards to the wild card. You have to beat them. You have to beat them this week. I'm not talking split. You have to win at least 3 out of 4. Otherwise, it is a failure. At least as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you agree with that. But if they do not win at least 3 out of these next 4 games against Tampa, I consider it a morbid failure. Even with all that the Yankees have going on right now. So I guess this will be a preview to what's going on this week. I could skip this part in weekly recap later. But yeah, tomorrow, 7:05 Eastern, Yankees-Rays, man. Schlittler against Rasmussen. Got to get it done. Hopefully Schlittler throws another gem. Then you got Fried and Boyle on Tuesday. Got to win that game. Hopefully Max continues to bounce back a bit. Not really continues. He's got to just bounce back, period. Not looking too brutal, but not his best either, for sure. Because he's having a lot of problems with his fingers and the blister, and then he was bleeding there in the last outing, so got to get back on track. Then you got Warren against Little on Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday are both at 7:05 Eastern as well. Wednesday, Prime Wednesday, of course. Thursday is a 1:05 Eastern game. That'll be Stroman against Pepio, so God help us then. Stroman showing more of his truer colors in his last outing. The Stroman that we all knew of very well. Obviously, we're pleasantly surprised, took a hiatus upon returning from injury, but it seems he's back. Good for us. Team that needs pitching just about as bad as anybody. Now Stroman's back. That can only last so long, I guess, right? Any freaking way. Got to win those matchups coming up. But a lot of bad this past week, unfortunately, guys. A lot of bad. There's some news as well. I want to hit on that during the Yankees news segment later on. But just a quick brush through of the team as far as individual performances, particularly this last week, give or take. But, yeah, Trent, I mean, he led off today as far as people contributing. Didn't do too much this past week. He's been 5 for his last 23, so hopefully he gets back into the swing of things. But he still had his couple of big hits here and there, timely hits. So, I mean, I I'm still a fan of Trent. I know some people aren't, but fact of the matter is he's still having the greatest season of his life, and I hope he continues that. Remains to be seen if he is ultimately dealt at the deadline in the next few days. I mean, it depends on who it's for. As far as I'm concerned, I'd like for them to hold on to him if they don't have really anything significant in the works. But, I mean, if it's for someone huge, we'd have to talk about it, and I'd have to think about it. But I do appreciate the season he's having in regards to the rest of his career and the seasons he's had in the past. I mean, still appreciate him for it. Then you have Ben Rice. He's been doing a lot of catching in first base lately. But not too much going on with him of late. I mean, he had the big home run that gave him the lead in the second game of the 3-game set against the Blue Jays. That was huge, but you take that away, he has really not done too much at the plate, unfortunately, lately. So he's 2 for his last 20, so that's got to get a little bit better. 9 for his last 43. So hopefully he gets back in the mark a bit. But hopefully if he continues to be a catcher, I mean, the Yankees basically have 3 catchers at that point. You think that Ichiro has probably got to bite the dust at that point, might be involved in some sort of a trade deadline deal, got to offload him for some roster room. No need to have 3 catchers at this time. Rice and Wells should be fine. But that's the deal with Rice lately. Then you have Paulie Goldschmidt down at first base. He did just pinch hit today. He didn't get the start. That was Rice today. But Goldschmidt's still been putting in the decent work. Last bunch of games, he's 6 for his last 22. That's good for a 273 average in that time span. In his last 15 games, 52 at-bats, gotten 15 hits, 288 average, and he's at 287 overall in the year right now. Still not much of flashes of power, but he's still putting bat to ball, man. That's all I could ask for. Had a couple of mistakes defensively, but overall, I mean, how many mistakes has he saved from others defensively? So I can only be so hard on Paulie, you know? Especially considering his age. I got to keep mentioning that because it's important. All things considered, still not a bad season at all by Goldschmidt. Not at all. So I still struggle to really get on him for too much. I mean, he makes his mistakes, so does everybody, especially at his age, but I don't mean to make him sound like a fossil, but I mean, he's 37 years old. So that's the deal there, but Goldschmidt, still enjoying watching him play. Glad he's here. Cody, my friggin' guy. Still 8 for his last 29, 21 for his last 60. So he slowed down a tiny bit this past week, but Cody's still doing his thing. Still got 3 home runs in his last 7 games, so there's that. 19 on the year right now, 58 runs batted in, OPS in the mid-800s still, average in the 280s. I mean, I'm just so happy for him. On-base percentage in the 330s, slugging in the 500s. Badass. And he plays anywhere you need him to. Especially because these days a certain captain is not available. We'll get to that later. But he played right today. Plays anywhere you need him to. It's good to have. Giancarlo still continues to do much better than I anticipated. The home runs continue to come back more and more. He's at 7 now, 3 in his last 7 games, 3 in his last 28 at-bats in that time span. And he is 9 for his last 28. In his last 15 games, he's still got over a 300 average. Good for just a tad under 280 on the year so far in his young season, around 100 at-bats in now. 7 homers, 20 RBIs, OPS not too far under 900. Love to see that from Giancarlo, man. And he might be seeing some more right field in his imminent future because, again, a certain captain's situation, Giancarlo, might be switching things up in his regard in the near future. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we might see him in right field for a little bit. That's a little bit of a spoiler alert. Then you have Jazz. Jazz is still doing his thing. In his last 7 games, got a 308 average, 8 for his last 26, so he's still doing his thing out there. 18 homers, 48 RBIs in the year. Average still floating around 250. OPS near mid-800. So still doing his thing. Still does some goofy things out in the field, but for the most part, making some nice plays out there. Still good to have him out at second base, knowing hopefully there is still not as much of a strain on his arm as there was at third base. But, yeah, he's still doing his thing. Had a pretty decent last week, I suppose. Jason, still the same tendencies. I mean, the hits, they come in bunches. This past week wasn't really good for him. Made his mistakes out and left for sure. 3 for his last 27 at the plate as well. But, you know, then this next week with this sort of slumping coming around, then he could go like 7 for 9 at one point. That's usually how it happens for him. It comes in bunches with him. But the fielding this past week had, reminded some people that it's not too strong out there. Even heard one person talking on the Fan yesterday, one of the weekend hosts. Interesting point being made. Just baffled him that he wasn't better trained for left or even just like overall the outfield positions in general. Because the Yankees, they've had him in their system since he was 16 years old. That's 6 years ago at this point, with him being 22 now. You just couldn't have trained him to be like that much better. I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird how like inexperienced and how rough he looks at times. I did say, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm switching up here, because I've said for weeks and weeks now that I still think he's done far better in left field overall throughout the scope of the entire season than I expected, and that still rings true. Just every now and again, he still has his ugly plays and bad routes he takes. It's an ugly look. Like, that's typical, but it's going to happen with him because he's not a left fielder first and foremost, and the Yankees just, I don't know, there's some lack of training here to a degree. I don't know. It was a reminder of that a little bit this past week, and that was a shame. I know he's still learning, and I still want to give him some time to learn here, some patience, some leeway, because he is still learning. This is his rookie year. But yeah, had a reminder of some things this past week, and at the plate, didn't do too much. Not much at all. 254 average on the year still, 9 homers, 36 RBIs, and OPS in the low to mid 700s still. So he's, overall, it's all right. It's okay. Then you have a couple of new acquisitions. I'll save them for a bit. I'll just go over the Yankees news real quick after this before going into the weekly recap and going over the games. But before getting to the new additions here, you have Volpe. I mean, in the last few days, he's resurged a bit. He's hit more home runs lately. He has 4 home runs in his last 15 games, 2 in his last 7, giving him 14 now, which is an impressive number for shortstop, so I'll give him that. But, I mean, overall, he's still 5 for his last 24. I don't know. I know that lately, in the last few games, if you just look at his last few alone, I guess you can make a little bit of a case. I mean, in the interest of fairness, so his fanboys don't rip me to shreds. Before today's game, when he went 0 for 4, yet again, huge shocker, but he was, before today's game, 4 for his prior 10. So, I mean, he had resurged a bit. He had his 2 hits in Atlanta on July 19th, and he went 1 for 4 on the 20th. I mean, what are we doing nitpicking here? I mean, come on. You want to include today's game because it happened. He went 0 for 4, so he's 5 for his last 24, okay? Let's stop trying to make excuses here to make believe he's been good at the plate. 215 average, 14 homers, which is the good part. 55 RBIs, also not bad at all. But the OPS is still under 700, guys. Still under 700, which I hate. And the on-base percentage is 285, which I hate. Slugging's good because the home runs are there. It's over 400. Stolen bases, still not running the way I'd like him to. He's got 11 on the year. Still caught 7 times, which is not good. The defense, still irritating at times, which is inexcusable because that's the one leg he's always had to stand on. Now he doesn't. Just the points of regression, guys. I don't care. Yes, I do care, and I give credit where it's due. If you have a couple of homers, especially if they lead to huge victories, I gave him the credit where it was due last week, and I will continue to do so for as long as he's here, which hopefully is for not too much longer, to be quite frank with you. But, I mean, overall, we're just going to continue to pretend like what we're seeing just isn't what it's just what we want. It's not what we want. In the words of Joe Girardi, it's not what we want. He'll get a couple of hits every now and again. The old adage again, even a blind squirrel can find a nut. It happens. But then after that, it'll be 9 for the next 53 again. That's what Volpe is, guys. And fine, if you don't want to look at the offense, then look at the defense. That is what it is too this year. You don't want to look at that, look at the base running. That is what it is this year. Not stealing as much as he should, and when he is, he's gotten caught too many times. Sometimes that's bad judgment on the Yankees, too, if they're to send him at certain times. I mean, that could be a bit of a mix of other things as well. But, I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Silly. What are we doing here? So that's Volpe. Just more of the same, despite an occasional heat up every now and again, and recently. It's more of the same. Whatever. Then you have Austin Wells, Rice's real partner at this point, catching. At least that's the way it really should be. I mean, I see the numbers that people don't like. Again, we spoke about this last week. 217 average, 716 OPS. Listen, the home runs and RBIs, 15 and 56 from a catcher. I take it. I take it. This is catching we're talking about after all. I can put up with some of the other stats if you give me that and good defense. And you call a good game, which I've been critical of how Wells calls games at times. But if you call a better game, tighten up the defense, give me those home runs and RBIs, and just come through, once in a while when it's required of you, I could live with the other stats being low in regards to catching. I could live with it. I can. As far as anybody else, guys like Vivas, well, he was optioned again down to the minors in light of recent moves, which again we'll get to momentarily. So that's good. Peraza, I mean, he's still Peraza. Delegated to the bench for now, thank God. We'll see if anything happens with that. Because, again, just another example of putrid. Judge, at least when he was playing, and again, get to that in a minute too. Lately, wasn't doing too much. In his last 15 games, he had been 11 for his prior 54, and he was 4 for his last 25. Still hitting home runs every now and again. 37 home runs, 85 RBIs where he stands on the year for now. OPS still at 1160. Average over 340. So, listen, Judge is still Judge regardless, but there's a lot more news in that regard that we'll get to momentarily. But the offense, listen, they do the best they can. Like we said last week. They really only had, one really bad day this past week. They still have their moments where they don't come through, and they should. They do. But on an overall basis, as far as overall runs scored, Monday they scored 1 run, fine. That's the bad day. Tuesday, they scored 5, and the one big one at the end with Rice's home run against the Blue Jays. Wednesday, they scored 4, and were really resilient in trying to come back in the game, and they did tie it at one point at 4 against the Blue Jays that day, but then the pitching blew it once again like they always do. Then they scored 5 runs against the Phillies on the first night, 1 in each of the first 2 innings, and the pitching kept it down until the 5th when they allowed them to tie it, and then the offense retook the lead in the 6th inning. Granted, it was only a 1-run game, but then the pitching folded after that and proceeded to allow 10 runs in the final 3 innings. So, again, pitching. Yesterday, they scored 4 more runs, and the pitching really buried them early on. I mean, by the 4th inning, they were down 4-0 already, and they tried to scrape some runs together, but it wasn't nearly enough. The Phillies They just got to Stroman. Stroman didn't have his stuff. They got to De Los Santos. They got to Winans. You get it. And then today, the pitching actually happened to be good, and the Yankees scored 4 more runs, and they happened to hold on for the win. So the offense does their thing more often than not, if I had to say, despite them still blowing certain scoring chances. That's the overall general consensus. But the pitching, once again, is where you mainly look. It is just continuing to be on the scale of waterboarding torture at this point. It is unreal how this pitching has continued to stink. Mentioned Fried before. I know he's got some stuff going on with his hand, and in the last couple outings he had that blister before the All-Star break, and then this past time where he didn't look like himself again, he said it wasn't necessarily the blister, but there was definitely a cut there. He was bleeding a little bit, so he's having some problems with the pitching hand. But nonetheless, hope he gets that straight soon, because obviously if Fried is not going to be Fried, then the pitching is in even more trouble than they've already been in. But the last couple of outings have not been the usual Fried, of course. In Toronto on the 23rd, which is the last time we saw him, we'll be seeing him again on Tuesday against the Rays. But in his last outing in Toronto, 5 1/3, the 4 runs allowed, 6 hits, only 3 Ks. Obviously, he had the 3-inning outing against the Cubs prior to the break, so he's only had the 1 outing since the break. But we'll see how he does on Tuesday, I suppose. against the Rays. I mean, they need a good start out of him. And Fried is still, his numbers overall are still fantastic. 11-4, 2.62 ERA. Still great numbers. But I just hope we see him back to the Fried we know on Tuesday. Then you have Rodon. I mean, he's up and down. Speaking of whiplash lately, today's start wasn't awful. 5 1/3, 3 runs. Certainly not bad. 8 strikeouts. But he's having trouble keeping the ball in the park. 3 more home runs given up today. All solo shots. That's the way you want it if that has to happen. But, yeah, I mean, I hope for even better things for him. Hasn't been bad. But at times he just seems to be exhibiting a few old Rodon behaviors where he just falls into ruts. I mean, he throws too many pitches in certain innings. He's still giving up the home runs again. He's not going as deep as he would like. Since that beautiful 8-inning outing right before the break against the Cubs that we glazed so much on last week's episode, and rightfully so. On the 21st at Toronto, again, to have that outing in the first inning, have only 6 pitches in that first inning, and then only go 5, you know he ended up throwing too many pitches. So he didn't end up going nearly as deep as he probably wanted to and nearly as deep as we expected him to go, especially after that first inning. 5 innings, only the 2 runs allowed, and he walked 5 people. It just can't happen. Same amount of walks as innings pitched. It's not a great outing. Even if he managed to squeeze out of trouble a bunch and only allowed 2 runs in those 5 innings, a lot of aspects about that start still not good. And then today, the 3 home runs, not going the 6 innings like I expected originally, but still not bad. 5 1/3, 3 runs, could be worse. So, I mean, he's just, last couple outings. So hopefully he gets back on the horse a little bit there. Still 11-7, 3.18 ERA. The numbers could be a lot worse. Again, could be a lot worse. Then you have Will Warren, who's continuing this weird sort of, like every other start, I'm going to be good sort of thing. Just inconsistent. Not too bad against the Phillies, but still needs to be better. I mean, 5 2/3, the 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 5 hits. I mean, again, not a bad outing. Not bad. But there are aspects about it you still want to see it be a bit cleaner. The walks. Maybe go a little bit deeper into a game again. And, so just certain aspects about it. But it's every other outing. I mean, one on the 13th against the Cubs, 5 1/3, 2 runs. Then against Atlanta, this one he completely crapped the bed, 3 2/3, 5 runs. And then 5 2/3, 2 runs against the Phillies this time. So again, sort of back and forth. He's very inconsistent. I'd like to see him get a bit more consistent and clean up his stuff. Continue to do so because the Yankees still need him. They do. And then Stroman, like I said, Stroman really returned to the Stroman that we know. Yesterday, he just he threw too many pitches and just didn't go nearly as deep as he had in his prior 2 outings and nearly as deep as he definitely would have liked to. 3 2/3, 4 runs allowed, and the 4 walks. He had it at the very beginning, but then he just completely lost it. Completely flew off the rails in that 4th inning and just couldn't get it back, and then things just completely unraveled. The Yankees never came back, and yeah. So hopefully he can just get any sort of semblance of those performances he had when he first came back from the injured list, those first 2 or 3 performances, because unfortunately that outing that he just had yesterday was reminiscent of the Marcus Stroman that makes us pull our hair out. So hopefully next time we see him, he's better, especially because of the importance of his next start to end the Rays series. So please, God, let it be better. That's all I got to say about that pretty much. And then you have Cam Schlittler. I mean, we spoke all about him after his first outing and how highly I thought of him. He had his next outing after that against the Blue Jays that I said it was coming up last episode. 5 innings, only 2 runs, the 7 hits and 3 walks. So he allowed a decent amount of base runners, struck out 3. So not the cleanest outing, but I mean, he still did okay ultimately on his final line in regards to innings pitched compared to the earned runs that he allowed. So his ERA is down to towards the lower 4s now, but it's only 2 outings and, 10 1/3 innings, so you can only take that so seriously. But the stuff still looks good. Just got to still clean it up a bit and get it under control, but he's still brand new up here. So you expect to continue to see that progress a bit, more and more as the outings go along. And then the bullpen, guys, I'm honestly not even going to subject you to that discussion right now. They were so freaking bad this week, pretty much for the exception of today. More often than not. I mean, today they actually managed to get by and hold it down for Rodon Loaisiga even, which is just shocking with how putrid he's been and my morbid disappointment in him, as we well know on this show, with how much I had loved Loaisiga for years in the past. Weaver held it down. I mean, despite how much we love him personally, we know how little he's done that lately. Tim Hill held it down as he continues to be good. I mean, he still has his outings every now and again even, but in comparison to a lot of his other teammates out there, I'd still say he's one of the better ones. And Devin locked it down nicely today. So today they miraculously held it down. The pitching was actually quite freaking good. But just about all other days, my God, awful. So that's really the gist of that. What do you say we go in depth on what happened in the games? Just we'll breeze right through it since I'm sure much of it you don't even really want to rehash, nor do I. So let's get through a quick Yapping Yankees time machine. Let's go. Let's just get through this. Monday, Rodon got the start against the Blue Jays, and the defense was just bad again. 2 more errors. So, of the 4 runs he allowed, 2 were earned in his 5 innings of work. And the Yankees only scored 1 run. On top of the 4th inning, thanks to Giancarlo Stanton's 5th home run of the year, solo shot. That was the only run that was scored. And then the rest of the outing, yeah. I mean, they scored all 4 of their runs unanswered to follow in the 5th inning. And then just no action for the rest of the game. So Volpe and Peraza making the errors, the 2 that game. So the left side of the infield just stunning. Absolutely stunning, like it has been for so long now. Yankees really thought it to be a novel idea after choking worse than any team has in 1 inning in the World Series in baseball history. Yeah, they thought it to be a novel idea, and I've crapped on them more times than I care to count for this, to enter the very following season without a third baseman. Yeah, great idea. Great. And with a shortstop that has decided to regress this year on the whole, at least as far as getting down to the final 2 months of year 3 here in his career. We don't need to rehash that for the billionth time. But yeah, terrific side of the infield there on the left side. Really helping the Yankees to a remarkable loss amidst really the only day of dead offense this past week, so that was fantastic. Tuesday, and Rodon had to get the loss for that, obviously. Tuesday, you had Schlittler taking the mound. He would take a no decision because he allowed the 2 runs that he allowed. And he had the lead when he was done. The Yankees were up 4-1 at the time, but then, the bullpen had to spoil it and allow the Blue Jays to tie it up at 4. So that just took the win away from Schlittler, allowing him to potentially go 2-0 in his first 2 big league outings. That would have been nice. But gave the decision to the undeserving bullpen instead. Point is, the Yankees still won the game. That's what's really important at the end of the day, right? Who gives a crap about wins, losses? Rightfully so these days. But Jazz opened up the scoring right off the bat, pun intended. Yep. 3-run homer, 18th of the year in the top of the first, made it 3-0. Then the Blue Jays crept back with a run by Addison Barger. My God, what a Yankee killer. Great, another one, right? Just another one. The 5th inning, Cody Bellinger, solo shot, 18th homer of the year. My guy. Then the Blue Jays are tied up at 4, like I said before, and then in the top of the 9th, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Ben Rice with that super clutch solo shot to give the Yankees a 5-4 lead, and thankfully Devin held it down for his 15th save of the year in the bottom of the 9th. The Yankees eked out a win, finally, to even the series at 1. Rubber game matchup Wednesday. You thought they'd win it? You just wait. Max Fried took the mound again, did not look like himself. 6 runs allowed, but 4 of them earned because, again, the Yankees go out there looking like a Little League team, folks. Like they always do. It really is just freaking remarkable. This actually started pretty good for the Yankees, though, because Jason led it off with a solo shot in the top of the 2nd. Led off the scoring, that is. So that made it 1-0. But then the Blue Jays took a 2-1 lead, and then Volpe met that with a solo shot of his own in the top of the 5th to tie it up at 2, his 13th of the year. So you're like, okay, the offense being resilient again. I like that. And then Max Fried making an error of his own, one of the 4. Honestly, this game should have had about 5 to 7 errors. I think they were being kind with 4. That's how putrid of defense the Yankees played in this game. Freaking excusable. But an error by Fried allowed the Blue Jays to get the lead back again, 4-2. But then the offense, resilient again. Judge, 2-run shot, tied up at 4, is 37th and most recent of the year. So that tied it up at 4, but then the bullpen and the defense collectively, everybody just falling the hell apart. Falling apart. Ben Rice had an error. It was 6-4 after the 6th inning. So just everybody making errors, everything falling the hell apart. I mean, I don't know, man. The lack of fundamentals and the lack of defense, these are a lot of plays that I envision high schoolers making and ripping their hair out if they don't. It's remarkable. Really is remarkable. I mean, even Jazz had an error on this one. So many mistakes, even by people you don't expect. Like, I didn't really expect that mistake by Jazz even, and Rice and Fried, and it's just a freaking mess. And yeah, Jason, this was the game where he was a mess out and left again. I don't know, man. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take for them to lock in on the defense. Anyway, they lost 8-4. Just an embarrassment of a game, especially because the Blue Jays are like so into it and they're playing great fundamental baseball. They're fighting for their division and like they're hyped doing so because they're embarrassing the Yankees. And like the adage that everybody heard of with the Dodgers in the World Series, just put the ball in play and the Yankees will take care of the rest. Like it's humiliating. Especially in a game of that importance regarding the division against your division rival, the Blue Jays, who have really taken it to you the last couple of times you faced them head-to-head with everything at stake. My God, just horrible. Horrible. And then you had the first Phillies game on Friday after we got a moment of reprieve. Yankees having the day off on Thursday. Thank Christ for that. You had them open up the scoring in this one as well. Cody, though the solo shot is 19th, and Wells went deep as well for his 15th. 2 solo shots, 2-0. Then Schwarber ties it up at 2. Giancarlo gives them the lead again with his 6th homer of the year. Solo shot, 3-2. So again, the offense battling back. Then the Phillies retie it, take the lead 6-3 after Real Muto 3-run shot. Then the offense tries to crawl back again, you see it. So you see the resilience there. This is what I was talking about. Volpe, another solo shot. Judge sack fly, so it's 6-5 now. So they're close again. But then, again, the bullpen, again, 2-run shot. Schwarber, absolute piss rocket into right field, driving home Turner, who in every series I see him in, just like lays an egg, at least whenever I see him, and then he just slacks the Yankees, does Turner. It's just great to see. Love it. Why not? And then they just pile on after that in the top of the 9th. Ultimately, 12-5 is your final. Tim Hill gets the loss. As he crapped the bed, Weaver crapped the bed, Hamilton crapped the bed, Efros crapped the bed, everybody crapped the freaking bed. Pitching. Same crap the next day yesterday. You had Stroman, like I mentioned before, 3 2/3, 4 runs. De Los Santos allowed a run, 3 hits in an inning and 2/3. Winans crapping the bed. Yankees with another error. Jazz again, just freaking unbelievable. That's why I said he still does stupid crap out there, despite it being good to see him back at second base. Still does dumb crap. And another run would score after that even, so it did matter, even though it was freaking 9-1 at that point. Only Yankees scoring on the day, when they were down 4-0, Jason got an RBI single. And when they were down 9-1, Stanton hit a 2-run shot, and then Ben Rice scored on a balk in the bottom of the 8th, but the game was so friggin' over already. This game felt over before it even friggin' began. Just terrible. Pitching again, laying a fat egg. And then today really being the main day that they didn't, miraculously enough. like I mentioned before. Today's game, despite being down 2-0, the offense, again, battling back. Yankees' new addition, Ryan McMahon, we'll talk about him in a second, 2-run double down the right field line. Wells sacrifice fly not too long after that. Trent RBI single to add on. Otto Kemp did make it a 4-3 game in the top of the fifth. What a game he had today. His 2 home runs and clinic out on the field. But the Yankees did end up holding on by that score and salvaging a freaking game. Again, after almost blowing it, almost giving up a 3-run actually nuke to Schwarber in the top of the fifth. Missing by just a few feet, if that, off of Rodon. Thankfully, Bellinger made the catch at the fence. If that happened, I would have just shut the game off. Would have just shut it off. So again, putrid week, 2-4 last 6 games since we last yapped, and awful. Inexcusable defense. Fundamentals crap all around. Resilient offense, but could only do so much when met with the generationally bad pitching. I'm just still in shock about just how bad the Yankee bullpen is. I actually can't believe it. Every year, and I've been spoiled in this regard at least, I'm nearing 20 years watching baseball in general, but particularly the Yankees as well, obviously. But I haven't seen a bad bullpen before by the Yankees, and I've been very fortunate to be able to say that, but that's what also makes it so surreal this year, and not in a good way, to see how putrid, how much of a nightmare they've been in 2025. By far the worst Yankee bullpen I've personally ever seen. They need help. A lot of help in that regard. Lots of help. Already gave what's ahead this coming week before, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Rays and Marlins. That's that. Marlins 7:10 Eastern Friday, 4:10 p.m. Eastern next Saturday the 2nd, and then next Sunday the 3rd when we yap again, 1:40 p.m. Eastern. Those games in Miami next weekend. So we mentioned him real briefly before. So let's get to Yankees news, since this is a good segue, I guess, having just mentioned McMahon. So this is what I wanted to talk about. I wasn't sure if we would have any moves by the time we talked today, but it turns out we do have a couple to discuss. The deadline isn't for another 4 days. The rest of the show is really just going to be deadline discussion. But the Yankees have made a couple of moves. First one being Ryan McMahon from the Rockies. That was really the first main piece of news from this past week anyway, happening Friday, so that's a good place to start. They agreed to a deal with the Rockies to acquire left-handed hitting third baseman Ryan McMahon Friday afternoon for 2 prospects. Now, we did hear for weeks that the Yankees had interest in Eugenio Suarez, and I did say it would be a nice pickup, of course, but there were aspects of Suarez that the Yankees just didn't need. I didn't really get to go too in-depth on it last week, so I'll mention it now, but as far as the Yankees needing to improve and the things we always harass them about, defense, fundamentals, all those basic aspects, especially with how childish and amateur the Yankees have looked in these regards, it's been embarrassing. Beyond embarrassing. That's barely scratching the surface. So to the degree at which they have been as awful as they've been, that's what we've been harassing them to improve with. Suarez would actually have not helped. He would not have helped in that regard. He is an okay defender at best. Not great at third base. So that wouldn't really have been helped all that much. You really get him for the home runs. And considering his age and the fact that it's a walk year for him, he would have been a rental. McMahon, while you're not going to really get despite him having had a hit yesterday and having a very nice day at the plate today, resulting in 2 big runs, so take this with a grain of salt, I guess, but you're not really expecting as much of an offensive output from him, especially particularly away from Coors Field, which now he is, of course, much more often than not, but you're not really expecting the offensive output from him that you would get from Suarez, particularly power-wise, but just about everything else you're getting. You are getting the remarkable defense that we've seen. Really nice jumping catch today. Surreal diving play and a freaking dart of a throw. Strike to Goldschmidt yesterday in that beautiful dive at third base that he made yesterday. Despite the Yankees being down big, you can still appreciate a sparkling play when you see one. He is already helping in that regard, and you knew you would get that. Defense and fundamentals vastly improving the left side of the infield. You are getting that with McMahon. Aside from the fact also that he has also been heating up the past 6 weeks, going back to when he was still with the Rockies. He had hit 10 home runs with an OPS of 820 in 39 games since June 7th, before the last 2 games with the Yankees, including today where he had 2 hits, was hit by a pitch, and drove in 2 big runs in today's winning effort. So there's that as well. And he is not just a rental. He's owed $16 million for each of the next 2 seasons, so he is still under a deal. And then at which point he'll become a free agent after that. So you're not just saying goodbye to him right away after this year. So Suarez being under a walk year I'm sure was also a consideration. And apparently the Diamondbacks asked for a lot. And considering there were a lot of areas, despite, nobody would have said Suarez would have been a bad pickup. I mean, depending on what the package in return was. But for what they might have been asking for, considering the Yankees' specific area of needs and what we always bust chops about what they need, wouldn't have solved all their problems. As a matter of fact, there would have been more problems he wouldn't have solved than would have. The Yankees don't need more home runs. They lead the league in home runs already. They don't need more of that. Look at where that's still gotten them. It's the other things we always bust their chops about. So, I mean, despite McMahon still not fulfilling other potential desires, we would be kind of hypocritical to completely crap on them for this move. After all the ball busting we've done, with them not being able to have any fundamentals or play any defense. And McMahon can still come through offensively every now and again. You only need him to so much if he's going to bat at the bottom of the order anyway. Wouldn't be the first time we had a Rocky come here and be sick. I mean, hello, DJ LeMahieu. So, at least in the first 2 to 3 years of his deal, but you get what I'm trying to say. McMahon is at least a massive defensive upgrade. Massive. So, in that regard, he's going to end up being, and you've already seen it, far superior to Suarez, at least from the defensive end. So that helps the fundamentals and defensive issues. You can never have too much offense. It won't give you much unless things go completely unexpectedly like yesterday and today, especially today. It's always possible, and we could see a continuation of today. And then if we do see that, oh my God, what a pickup it's going to end up being, especially because the package in return was really not much at all. But I'm just saying that because he's never really been much of a hitter, particularly away from Coors Field, like I mentioned earlier. So there's that. The Yankees did give up lefty Griffin Herring when it comes to the package they did give up, and right-hander Josh Gross. So those are the 2 arms they ended up giving up for Ryan McMahon. Worth it if you ask me. Nothing too crazy. Herring was a 6th-round pick from last year who pitched almost entirely in relief before going pro, by the way. He started 16 games since then. He's been between single-A ball affiliates, 171 ERA and a 283 strikeout to walk ratio. I did read that other stat. I thought it was pretty impressive, so I included it in my notes here. But some pretty good stuff. I mean, you have to have some appeal if you're going to make a trade. Herring does have 4 pitches. He's got 2 low 90s fastballs, a changeup that looks almost like a splitter, so it's extreme. And a slider as well. Generates a lot of ground balls with his off-speed stuff in particularly. And the Rockies liked how he looked, apparently. They liked his stats. And Gross was an 11th round pick in 2023. Spent this season in high A ball with a 4.14 ERA and 16 appearances, and 15 of those were starts, so just the one being relief. So nobody high up on the prospect list, obviously, so that's fine with me. And if McMahon plays the way he has the first couple of days here, he even shaved when he first got here now that he no longer has to, which makes it even more impressive, to be honest. He always had a beard with Colorado, so you know what? We'll see how it goes. Obviously, since it wasn't a big name, I was busy on Friday night when the news came out. I was out with some friends and my girlfriend, so I sat and thought about it for a while, really, before I gave my official thoughts and opinions on the McMahon trade. But I think there is a lot to like about it. I know a lot of people crapped on it because the big name Suarez caught a lot of people, but I think a lot of others, when they really sat down and thought about it for a bit, I think they came around on it. Maybe some people didn't. You're never going to get 100% support no matter what you do, so that's fine. But I ended up liking it a lot more than disliking it, and I think there could be a lot of pros that come out of this. A lot of aspects about it that are to like. So we will see what goes down. And apparently McMahon also already knew a few of the guys. Like he knew Cody, he knew Trent, and he already knew Judge and his wife. So, like, that's pretty cool. You come here already having some familiarity. So that's got to help as well. So I'm curious. See how McMahon will be as a Yankee. We'll see what goes down. Then the Yankees also acquired yesterday, aside from the really brutal news that came out about Aaron Judge, but aside from that, the Yankees also acquired Ahmed Rosario. Now, this was a little bit out of left field, but at first I was like, oh, God. I didn't like it. Like, initial knee-jerk reaction before I sat and thought about it and even talked about it with my brother and his friend and my family for a while when I was back at my original house yesterday. So we talked about it, and I came around to it a bit more. Knee-jerk reaction, I was like, why? I just thought about, like, but why? Like, what's the need? But I don't hate the move. I don't. So Rosario, obviously, right-handed hitter, which the Yankees have been in more of need for. It's weird. Like, when McMahon was traded here, like Jeff Passan yesterday said the Yankees get the left-handed bat they need. I'm like, what do you mean left-handed bat they need? They actually have too many left-handed bats in many regards. All of their catchers are lefties. Jazz is a lefty. They have a lot of lefties. Cody. Jason's a switch, but he bats lefty a lot of the time. Trent's a lefty. Like, they have so many left-handed hitters. They don't need even more. So that was kind of a weird comment, but they needed a righty, if anything. Well, Ahmed Rosario checks off that box. Plays multiple infield positions, third, short, second. Checks off that box in case you need someone to switch around. Probably be platooning with McMahon more often than not, but that's why I was like, when people were given the reason, like, oh, he can be the right-handed hitting third baseman now along with McMahon, I'm like, it's just weird because I wasn't under the impression the Yankees were planning on just getting a lefty-righty platoon for so many positions as they have. It's just, I thought of more of a roster logjam at that point. Just, that's why I was like, but why at first? But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? If you could, I just thought about it as like, oh, you're going to have to sit more guys now and do more rotating. And that might still happen. In that aspect, I'm not too thrilled about. But honestly, what I would do, this is a very, very hot take. And I completely acknowledge that we have a better chance of a meteor striking the earth in the next 5 minutes from when you are listening to this and ending all human life as we know it. I understand it's not going to happen. And it doesn't even have to be seen as an insult or a demotion like the Yankees would probably see it as, because they just don't acknowledge that some proven methods that other teams have tried do actually work and might work with their own guys. They just refuse to think outside the box at all from their plan and from their points of view. God forbid they could ever be wrong or have some flexibility. We know this about the Yankees. It's been one of their crippling factors about them for years now. But what I would do, I know he showed signs of a bit more of hotness lately, but if Volpe continues on the path that he has been for the vast majority of the season for like a couple more weeks, I'd send him down to AAA for a while since he's never been there in the first place. He got to skip it, had that privilege. Send him down to AAA for a while and give shortstop to Ahmed Rosario. Screw it. I said it, and I'm not taking it back. I can't take it back. I could edit it out, but I'm not going to edit it out. I said it. Look at the Mets. Look at so many other examples of when it's happened with former Yankee players in the past who have mightily struggled, sometimes against expectations. Send a guy down to AAA for a while, like Francisco Alvarez. Tears it up, gets their confidence back, comes back up here, completely different hitter, completely different player overall. Some might see it as a demotion. Some others might see it as trying to unlock what you very well feel is there in a player, and you feel this is a good way you could bring it out, and it has worked many times in the past with many guys. This is a process that's been proven successful far more than once. I don't even view it as an insult to Volpe. I view it as I'm actually rooting for him and trying to find any sort of way to unlock the player that so many others feel that he is, even amidst his brutal struggles. And the player that the Yankees seem to, in unyielding fashion, just stand by saying, oh, he's a top shortstop, he's top this, he's top that, he's elite. This could be a way to unlock that, man. This could be a way. I don't even view it as an insult or a demotion. The Yankees would view it as such because they're blockheads. But this could actually be a way to unlock Volpe if there even is anything to unlock. I personally think that this is just what he is. But who knows? Maybe send him down to a level he never even played in the first place. And see what happens. Give shortstop to Rosario, a solid veteran in the meantime. Try it out if things continue the way that they mostly have been for most of the season with Volpe. That's just my opinion. Either way, Rosario's here. The numbers are not bad whenever he's gotten to play. He's versatile. He's a right-handed hitter. Gives you another option for the infield. He'll give you good defense, which, again, like McMahon, is vital here. So if he is to get shortstop reps, you're looking at a solid left side of the infield, man. Especially if he's alongside McMahon. Just got to play them basically all the time. That'd be nice. But as long as they're going to keep Volpe up here and Jazz plays second, it's probably going to be more of a McMahon platoon. That's probably what's going to happen. God forbid you think outside the box for a little bit, but most of the time that's probably what's going to be happening anyway. Going back to the Nationals where Rosario came from, Clayton Beeter is going there. So Beeter was here for a while but missed so much time due to injury, and the few times he did pitch, didn't get a lot of good out of him. So unfortunate that didn't work the way the Yankees were hoping it would, but Beeter's gone now. Brown Martinez also went over in the deal. That's what Jack Curry reported. And that was that. So, again, I'm okay with the pickup. Again, adds a righty option. I just thought as far as helping the infield, especially with defense and fundamentals, I just thought that's why they got McMahon. I didn't realize they were looking to get another righty with that. They did say something about getting a righty a while back, but I just didn't expect them to actually do it. I thought McMahon was their guy, and that was their infield improvement, and they would just move along. But it wasn't. They got Rosario, too. But that's the deal with that. Just the initial concerns with the infield logjam. That was the initial concern in my mind, but I'm cool with it. Just got to clear up the roster. But part of that was, as I mentioned before, Vivas was optioned back down the other day, so that helped with that. Along with Efros before they returned De Los Santos from the IL. Those are really the only significant roster moves from this past week, alongside Winans going back down, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But then there's the devastating news. Honestly, could have been far worse. But missing this guy for any amount of time is devastating in its own right, even if it could have been far worse. So there's that. That's what I meant by that. Aaron Judge. We saw him make that throw a few days ago in Toronto where he winced afterwards when he threw the ball back in the infield from right field. Made that wince. Kept on playing after that. Didn't see much for a couple of days. But then the wincing continued Friday night against the Phillies when he was throwing some balls in from the outfield and the throws didn't look quite like Judge throws per se. And then Saturday, suddenly, yesterday, he was not in the lineup. All of us having a panic attack, rightfully so, because especially amidst all the things happening to this team already for weeks and weeks, the way they've looked, that might as well be, especially if it's long-term and really severe, that really would have been the 2025 season. That would have been it. And I would have been talking to you just almost like in a funeral fashion today, almost sort of like laying the Yankees 2025 season to rest. Still sort of tempted to do that with him missing any sort of time that's really even any more than like a week, given everything that's been going on. But not quite there yet. Still the best case scenario, probably aside from him not having to miss any time at all. That's the best. But a good outcome considering what could have been nonetheless. Everybody was fearing Tommy John surgery, UCL. We were all sweating through our clothes about it. Turns out it was a flexor strain, and there was no damage whatsoever to the UCL. Now, a flexor is what really guards the UCL, so it's like the predecessor. If it keeps on getting worse and worse, then the UCL could be exposed to injury, and then you have a Tommy John issue. But didn't seem to get that far, so their best choice to do this, I mean, Judge sounded like he wanted to play through it or at least just only keep hitting if he wasn't going to play the outfield, but there were concerns with his ability to grip the bat properly and how much it would be affected with that. So I think they just decided the best idea was to put him on the 10-day IL. I have to reluctantly agree with that, but they have a special plan in place. They expect him to miss the minimum amount of days, retro to yesterday, of course, the 10 days, since he was put on the 10-day IL. Then he's going to return after that 10 days to only DH for about another 10 days or so. So a ramp up to being able to play the field again at that point, but just to get his bat back in the lineup after the minimum 10 days on the IL passes. And then after he builds back up, when he's DHing for a while, that's when after about 20 days or so in give or take 3 weeks or so, he'll be back in right field. But in the next week to a week and a half, we should see him back for about 10 days as a DH. At which point, that's where the point I made about Giancarlo earlier in the show comes in, when they're like, well, what's going to happen to Giancarlo then? He's been good. You don't want to sit him. Well, this is the solution that I thought of immediately upon hearing this news, with what the Yankees were how they were planning to handle this. I was saying, well, Giancarlo could just play the field again. It's been a while. It's a risk, and that's sort of the Yankees' fault, too, for being reluctant to play him in the field as much as they've been. They're like, oh, we got to DH him. He gets hurt too much. Well, gets hurt too much as a DH anyway, so what the hell's the point? That's what I've always said. So it turns out they followed this line of thought shortly thereafter, and I was happy to hear that. Giancarlo's probably going to have to play right field for a while so they could keep his bat in the lineup, and he could keep hitting the way he has been. So that's the solution. He'll probably be getting right field reps while Judge has to DH until Judge can make his way back into right field. So that's the plan. And we'll see how it goes. That's the hope of how it'll go. We'll have to see how he heals up these next 10 days. They say this sort of flexor strain deal, as long as it's not too bad, and it sounded like in Judge's case it wasn't, thankfully, then rest could be a solution. And he DHs for a while, hopefully gripping the bat. Doesn't hurt it while he's DHing, and we'll see where we go. But if it gets much worse from here, I think we all know what it means for the season, so there's that. That's really the major news, guys. So, as far as everybody else remaining on the injured list, what I just told you is really the major things that just happened this week. But as far as anybody else, Luis Gil, we're obviously expecting him back shortly. He made his third minor league start 4 days ago on the 23rd. He threw 67 pitches over 3 1/3. He allowed 5 runs, though. And Boone said that they might have him just make one more rehab start because they didn't like what they saw in that start, understandably so. So that's just fantastic. So Gil being pushed back a little bit more. Definitely not going to see him until August at this point. I said probably like mid-July, and it's going to end up being August. So even worse than I originally said when some people were saying, oh, maybe June. That was a pipe dream. From the start, that was a pipe dream. So we'll see how they manage Gil. Hopefully as soon as possible he can be back to bolster up the rotation because, my God, do we know the pitching needs help. Ryan Yarborough's still out. He's continuing his throwing program, but he's not even throwing from a mound yet. So he's been playing long toss. His recovery's taking longer than anticipated. That's just terrific. Fernando Cruz, he has resumed his throwing program. He's obviously got that high-grade left oblique strain. So it's a slower program he's doing since his injury is not fully healed yet. But apparently Cruz said he's feeling really good after his most recent session. So there's that. Then you have Mark Leiter Jr. with that stress fracture in his left leg. He was throwing a little bit on the 18th and had a bullpen session between the 21st and the 23rd, but he's going to undergo some more imaging, see where it goes from there, so he's still just kind of a wait-and-see thing. And everybody else is until next year. All the Tommy Johns, Cole, Cousins, and Cabrera with his ankle, Schmidt, you know the deal. Well, that's really that, guys. See what's going on going forward. Obviously, devastating news about Judge. Really, really bad. Really bad. So, all that's left to do really today, social media segment. Let's go through it a bit. Obviously, more deadline discussion since that's the hot topic coming up on Thursday. Question is, on top of getting McMahon and Rosario so far, what are some other names out there you would like to see the Yankees acquire before Thursday's deadline? I've just been throwing around a few names myself. I know that there's Bednar and the Pirates, who had a brutal start to the season, but I understand has been so much better for a while now. ERA in like the low 2s, so Bednar would be interesting. But again, question is with all these guys, what do you got to give up to get them? Then there are other guys like Duran on the Twins, for instance. Like he's cracked out of his mind. Some people mentioned Seth Lugo. Some people a while back were mentioning Jacob deGrom. But again, another thing we have to consider here, Texas is pretty much in the wild card race at this point, and they have been for some time. So that's one thing, the third wild card. People are forgetting the third wild card has an effect on the trade deadline. You have teams that are skirting a 500 record and thinking they can make, and they probably could, squeak into the playoffs with a third wild card spot and making it less compelling to sell. So guys on teams like the Rangers, like DeGrom, probably not going to happen. And what would you have to give up to get him now that he's looking like DeGrom again? I mean, so there's that. Some people have mentioned Dylan Cease. Some of his numbers are not what some people expect of him, but it's still Dylan Cease. What would you have to give up to get him, though? And are teams like the Padres, once again, willing to sell even? Probably not. The Padres have a third wild card spot. Why would they sell? I wouldn't expect them to. And if I were a Padres fan, I'd be pretty livid if they did, honestly. They're only 3.5 game back of Philly anyway for the second wild card spot. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility at all to even move up in that regard. So I'd be pretty mad if I were a Padres fan and they decided to sell. There's some teams right behind them. The Reds are only a game back, and then a game and a half behind the Reds are the Giants, and a game behind them is the Cardinals. So it's a little close in that regard, too. But again, the third wild card has that effect. Not enough people are talking about that, I feel. So a lot of names out there. Me personally, I'd be okay with any of those guys, obviously. Depends on what you have to give up for them. The Yankees have some pieces to move, but, I mean, guys like Spencer Jones, look what he's doing. That 3-homer game being amongst, we talked about it last week, but continued since then. Continued to be like the best hitter in all the minor leagues. It's insane what he's doing. He's making a case for a call-up in a little bit over a month, man, or at the very least, starting next season. Depending on what the Yankees potentially offload at this deadline or over the winter. Have to wait and see. But any of these names are intriguing, man. I mentioned pitching in particular because now that they have McMahon and Rosario, although they're not the humongous sweet names, they address a lot of the Yankees' needs in areas they're weak in, though. That's the big part. But I look at the pitching because, especially after the offensive acquisitions now, even if you wanted other ones, they made them. And they didn't have to offload much at all for them. You got to look to the pitching now. Especially the rotation where they've just run out of bodies for a while now. And even the ones who are efficient, who's gone down with injury, who's going to have bad starts because they have to come back down to earth eventually. They're not God. They're not perfect. Running out of bodies there. Who's not even reliable at all. And the bullpen, how putrid they've been, especially the bullpen. The rotation, a lot of the time, despite the fact that they've run out of bodies in many regards, they've still been impressive. They've gone out there and done the best they could with what they have. The bullpen has just been full of continuous, morbid disappointments with arms that you wouldn't expect it from. It's got to be pitching at this point, man. Any of those guys. And what you'd have to give up, that's an entirely different story. Duran, Bednar, any of these guys. I know that even Ryan Helsley has been mentioned. I'm cool with it. Pitchers, pitchers, pitchers. That's the point. Let's see what some of you guys had to say. Let's start off with Spencer at Musician DMD. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I know I didn't get to read your reply last week. That's my bad, buddy. I know you said it's okay because you're the best, but still apologize for that. Reading yours now this week, though. Spencer says, my unrealistic expectations. Okay. Byron Buxton. Yeah, it's not happening. Ketel Marte. I've wanted him forever. Not happening. Cal Quantrill. No. Seth Lugo. No. I mentioned him and I'd love that, but no. Above players listed without knowledge or consideration of their contracts. Well, yeah. I don't know. A lot of those names would be more than welcomed, obviously, but a lot of those guys not going to happen. Who's willing to... I know, like, in the case of Buxton, he's got a no-trade clause even. I doubt he would even waive it. So, I'm pretty sure he even said he never would, but who knows? Guys change their mind, but I don't think he will. But, other guys like Ketel Marte, Tommy Pham, Cal Quantrill, Seth Lugo. Listen, you'd love a lot of those names, but it's probably not going to happen. But I understand. Sky's the limit. My buddy James at Rebirth Chaos 09 says, I would like them to get a few pitchers. This pitching staff is horrible and losing games left and right. Well, yeah, absolutely. That's the general consensus probably, and it should be. Rebecca at Peace Now for Life says, I'd love David Bednar to add to our bullpen and Dylan Cease for the starting rotation. It's all got to be about pitching now. 100% Rebecca. All about pitching. Even if it's just one bullpen guy, one rotation guy. I mean, I said that between the third wild card making teams less compelled to sell and just how many areas of need the Yankees need to improve, that it's doubtful that they can really address absolutely everything they need, because I think they need a couple of relievers and a starting pitcher. I think they could maybe get by with only one starter since Heal's on his way back, but who knows how Heal's going to be after missing the whole season up to this point. So that's kind of the deal with that. But at least you're getting Heal back, and in the not-so-distant future, apparently, hopefully. So a starting pitcher should do, and a couple of relievers. I mean, at least a couple. Even if you're going to stumble upon another no-name guy and turn him into something like the Yankees have done very often for years now, you need to get at least a couple of guys, especially in the bullpen. The bullpen especially is a nightmare. Never would have expected it, but it's a nightmare. At Lee_W18 says, pitching. Our bats are fine. Arms, 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 arms. Yeah. Amen, Lee. At Fundamentals NYY. Amen to that. Speaking of amen. And they say starting pitcher and bullpen. That's the consensus, and it should be. At NY Sports 29 says Duran, Dylan Cease, or any number 2 or 3 starting pitcher, lefty pen arm with velocity, James McCann, or any right-handed hitting catcher. The Yankees do not need another catcher. I know that they're both lefties. That kind of stinks, at least from hitting perspective, not throwing perspective, obviously. But they do not need another catcher. I'm okay with a Rice and Wells duo. I honestly am. I'm cool with that. Definitely running out of room for J.C. Escarra here. As much as I like the guy, running out of room for him. But, yeah, Dylan Cease or any other 2 or 3. So I can mention that in these replies, and I know that there are a few more that I'm probably not even going to get to. But, yeah, it's valid. But, again, Padres probably not and shouldn't sell. Probably not going to and shouldn't sell. Duran would be lovely. He would be really nice. But we'd have to see what we'd have to give up, and if the Twins would be willing to give him up as well. Definitely far different from the Padres, though. I definitely think the Twins should be much more compelled to sell than the Padres. They're 5.5 games out of a wild card and not really showing any signs of turning around. So, yeah, possibly him. Who knows? It'd be a sick pickup. At Laura_Icemunt, my buddy Laura says, pitchers. I'll take any at this point because the pitching staff needs help. Relatable. I will take any just about as well. At NY Yankees 93 says, was kind of holding out hope on a Brendan Donovan / Ryan Helsley sort of trade. They got to get some kind of flamethrower-esque reliever, though. Just give me a reliever who could pitch. I don't care if they throw hard or soft. You could throw soft and make it. Get me a solid pitcher, just any pitcher as well. Almost anyone with how this bullpen has been is an improvement. Just get arms. All right, let's finish off the usual last 2. First up, my girlfriend at Vic Salimo. And Vic says, any pitchers, the pitching desperately needs help, especially the bullpen. They have been terrible. Yeah, the bullpen is especially the emphasis for sure. I still cannot believe just how brutal they've been. Just the cruelest punishment of a lifetime watching them day in and day out. Especially on days where the offense is like, you could tell they're doing their best to keep the team in the game and come back and be resilient, and then the bullpen just comes in and just craps all over it. All right, last but not least is my mom at Julia Gina Scudero, and she says, so nice to have another Yapping Yankees. Thank you for the treat. You're welcome. It is good to be back 2 weeks in a row. And it'll be even better to be back 3 weeks in a row next week. Well, Mike, you know that your mom is not as amazing at all the players' names and stats as you are around the league especially, so I'll answer your question the best way I can. Honestly, the bullpen needs a ton of help. I'll take starters, relievers, anybody out there. I know that he's not available, but I recently watched a starting pitcher on the Mariners, especially with how he does against the Yankees, Brian Wu. I would love that kid on this team. Just saying, we need a miracle. Please stop taking mediocre players to satisfy a deadline. McMahon did play a good game today. Happy to have him. Good defense. Let's hope for an amazing move, but never ever trade Grisham. Very worried Yankees fan here. Like I said, we're big Trent fans, especially my brother. Got to give him credit for that one. But yeah, Brian Wu, I mean, the Mariners are in contention, so they would never do that. And Brian Wu would definitely be a pipe dream. The kid is incredible. You're right about that. It'd be amazing to have him on the team. Unfortunately, would never happen. At least not as of right now. But yeah, starters, relievers, anybody, but especially the bullpen just needs so much help. I think that's the main idea here. So just lock in on relievers. If you could get a starter, great. But lock in on relievers especially. Pitching, 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 guys. That's that. I think we can see that's the idea, and we're all just about on the same sheet of music with it. So with that being said, guys, after everything we went through today, that is about all for episode 259 today. A few of the usual reminders to finish off here. Remember to follow me on all social medias if you do not already, my friends. Mike Scudero NY is the Facebook fan page. At Mike Scudero is my Twitter or X page. And follow me on Instagram as well at Mike Scuds97. Be sure to subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on, obviously. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening to spread the word and show your love for the show, as you always do such a great job at doing, my friends. And if you've missed any of the past Yapping Yankees episodes and you want to catch up or even just listen to it for the hell of it, well, you can catch any of the Yapping Yankees episodes ever made from episode 1 all the way to episode 259 today on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Or if you prefer YouTube like I tend to, that is totally fine. Just be aware that I didn't start uploading on YouTube here until episode 34. So episodes 34 up to 259, still plenty of selections to choose from. Episodes 34 up to 259, all of those are available on YouTube for your listening pleasure. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again next Sunday, August 3rd, when I come at you with episode 260 of Yapping Yankees. But until then, guys, the usuals, you know it. Hang in there, be patient, please stay safe, look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass once again this week, just like the Yankees better freaking do against the Rays the next 4 days. Damn. How about that friggin' rhyme? One more for the road, why not? Kick the Rays' ass this week, boys. Take care of business in Miami. Get pitchers before Thursday. And please start to get on a better track. McMahon and Rosario, they help with the defense and fundamentals, taking steps in the right direction as far as the worst aspects of the Yankee team and helping to improve those at least. You need to start getting on a better track. Get ahead of Boston. Continue to bury Tampa. Focus on at least securing a wild card right now. The urgency is there. You cannot go on the way that you have. Can't go on like this. Lock the hell in this week. Well, in the wise words of Mr. Forrest Gump, that's all I gotta say about that. Until next week, my friends, take care, and let's go Yanks.